heard Brimstone announce its intentions to unbundle part of its shareholding in Life Healthcare to its shareholders. Mustaq Brey, Chief Executive Officer of Brimstone, joins us now to unpack some of the detail there. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon, Mustaq. Well, following the listing of Life Healthcare on the JSE this month, we've got Brimstone now unbundling part of its interest in Life Healthcare to the company's shareholders. You're only unbundling 9.4% off your 15.6% shareholding, though. So why the decision to do this in part, first of all? Run us through a bit of the strategy there.
Well, if I can just go back, firstly, thanks very much for listening to us. If I can go back to where we started, Brimstone had about 21.65% of Life Healthcare before the whole transaction started. The first thing we did at Life Healthcare was there was compulsory buyback of just over 30% of each shareholder's shares in Life Healthcare. Now we then sold off about 6% of the company of the shares which we had, bringing us down to 15.6%. We've utilized that money firstly to repay the debt which we had on Life Healthcare, on the Life Healthcare investment. What we're now doing is we're now unbundling and giving about 9.4% of our shares, 9.4% of Life Healthcare, we're unbundling to our shareholders, and we're going to retain just over 6% back in Brimstone. And we're doing it in what looks like a very complicated manner, but it's not that complicated. We're doing it in a company called Health Strategic Investments. And that company will in actual fact be owning more than 25% of Life Healthcare when this transaction is being done, which gives. And both of those are listed companies. That Life Healthcare and Life Strategic Investments are both listed, will both be listed companies. We will then get rollover relief for our shareholders. So, we will not have to pay our CGT right now. That will roll over to the shareholders ultimately. Yeah. The taxes never disappear, but it's being delayed.
Is that the major reason why these shares aren't being unbundled directly to shareholders in the first place, instead going through Health Strategic Investments?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, well,
it's in actual fact a major saving for our shareholders, a cash flow saving for our shareholders currently, that we're doing it in that way.
Well, the only asset of Health at the time Health will be listing will be that 26.6% direct holding in Life Healthcare. I mean, are you looking to bulk up there moving forward, or eventually sell off completely?
No, all the shares will go to our shareholders of Brimstone and the Mavela shareholders.
And in terms of what sits in that vehicle moving forward, will there be, is that just...
No, there'll be nothing else left in that vehicle.
Okay.
The only asset will be the Life Healthcare shares.
So let's take a look then at how Life Healthcare plans to fit into your other investments at the moment, moving forward, and what the company's strategy is as we progress.
We'll have about 6% of Life Healthcare, which would be paid for as well. So it's quite a substantial investment at current market prices. That's in excess of about 850 million rand. And we're hoping to stay in as a long-term shareholder in Life Healthcare still back at Brimstone. Mm-hmm. We're actually hoping to leverage that position and try and get an additional few percent going forward.
That having been said, are you disappointed by the results of the Life Healthcare listing itself? I mean, we saw it listing at 13.40 Rand at the lower end of its initial target band and what they had planned to list at. You also didn't list as many shares that had been intended to. I mean, has that been disappointing?
Not really. We've lived with this asset for a long time. We were actually involved from 2003, and we finally completed that transaction in 2005. And at that time, the market cap, don't forget, Life was listed at that stage in a different name. It was Afrox Oxygen Hospitals, right? And the market cap at that stage was 4.4 billion rand. We took it off the market. 5 years later, it's been brought back to the market at 14 billion rand. And I think to say that we should be disappointed having increased the value by 10 billion rand, that's being unfair. I mean, I think the company has done exceptionally well. Mm-hmm. The expectation might have been that it should have been a bit higher, but in the current market times, we in actual fact at Brimstone are very, very happy with what the position is.
As agreed to prior to the listing of Life Healthcare, I mean, we had shareholders who were previously shareholders of the company and prior to the listing prohibited from actually disposing their Life Healthcare ordinary shares as part of a lockup period of 180 days. I mean, why that decision for that lockup period and over a 6-month period?
I think it's just to bring stability to the market. We didn't know, that there's been turmoil in the world markets, and part of the mechanism they looked at was to get stability in it. They've asked some of the shareholders to stay in and leave, for 180 days we've got a lock-in period that we cannot sell our shares. And I don't think that's being unreasonable.
Well, on that note, let's leave it there. Mustaq, thanks so much for your time and for joining us on the line this afternoon. That Mustaq Brey, Chief Executive Officer of Brimstone.